Good morning, Oracles. Well, golly, we had a wonderful day yesterday. Well, we did here. It stinks for the people in Ukraine. Not happy about that at all. But it's something that they're going through. My wishes, best wishes, go out to them, and I hope that they can get through this with minimal casualties as possible. So we're thinking about them, hoping them all the best over there. For the stock market, we saw a lot of pain early on, and then we saw the clarity, and then the stock market just took off. And Tesla is soaring from a 691 pre-market to 802 intraday, and it closed around $800. Talk about an insane swing. I grabbed a whole bunch at 727. Kicking myself because I had a pre-market buy-in for $695 that would have triggered, but I got greedy and bumped it down to $650. I missed out. Shame on me. I learned my lesson. Don't be greedy. Because you can be greedy when you're trying to sell and want to sell for more, and when it's just getting euphoric runs and you're hoping for that little bit more. Or you can get greedy and you're trying to hope that it drops a little bit more so you can buy for a little bit less. The moments where you get greedy, you're going to lose, and I lost. Not a big deal. I still have plenty of stock in my IRA for that, so I'll try to catch the next dip, or if we run, I will sell some and make some profits and then buy in on the next dip. And some news that came out yesterday, lots of news that came out from Tesla yesterday, but Chowdry had announced for their clients, to aggressively buy Tesla yesterday morning. I mean, talk about a, this is the time to buy type of conversation that he was giving out. So yeah, aggressively buying. It sure looked like a lot of people were aggressively buying down around $700. And the great news is we saw about 45 million shares trade hands. So volume is definitely back. That was good. We've been trading, 20 to 25 million shares, which is relatively low. So 45 million was huge. And why that's huge is because that was bringing us up. That was going up. When you've got a huge volume and you're going down, bad news. A lot of volume going up, that means a lot of buyers came back in yesterday, which is amazing news. So how much of that was institutions or how much of that was just retail? We don't know, but that's a lot of volume coming in yesterday. So that's great. That means that 700 is an extremely solid support that we have. So this is great news. The gap down that we had did get filled, of course, because we screamed right back up to $800. So even with the stock going up as much as it did yesterday, the RSI is still at 37. So it's not in the oversold range, but it's still pretty darn low. So we've got some room to grow still. Let's see if we can keep this moving going up. So some news that we got yesterday as well, coming out of Shanghai, is that Tesla is looking to open up a second factory and expanding their production over there to over 1 million vehicles annually. So that's awesome news that's coming out of there. We also have news that Giga Berlin has produced 1,000 vehicles year to date, so that is all set there. They have another 1,000 that they can produce. We have Giga Austin, one EPA approval away from being able to make their first deliveries. More awesome news. I do not know when that's actually going to happen, but hopefully it'll be soon. And that is awesome news because hopefully we can get clarity as to how the 4680 structural pack vehicles are going to be rolled out. And once we get clarification on that, I can then make the adjustments to my vehicle so I can make sure I get a 4680 structural pack Model Y and get it as soon as possible. And so when we look at all these things, clearly everything that has been going on in the macro environment is not changing the fundamentals of Tesla as a company. They are still building their factories. They are still getting ready to produce vehicles. They haven't just put everything on hold because there's FUD out there. No, they're still doing all these things. So the stock price is going to fluctuate based upon emotions and FUD, while the company is still chugging away and producing these vehicles and growing themselves as a company. So that's why I invest based off of fundamentals. And I just follow the stock price, and when silly people and FUD bring the stock price down, I'm just going to buy more because I know the fundamentals are strong. I know the company is going to be pushing out 1.6 to 1.8 million vehicles this year alone. So they're growing enormously, and I want to be there with the lowest stock prices possible, which is, I think, what we may have seen yesterday at around $700 for the year. We might not see that again, but again, we might. Who knows? We'll see how the year continues to play out with everything else going on. But either way, I think we are going to look back at this time as one of the greatest buying opportunities for Tesla, probably since the pandemic, when everything crashed super hard then. And since I am a long-term investor, I will look at situations like Russia and Ukraine and ask myself, how is this going to affect the stock and the company in the future? Well, right now we are looking at a whole entire European Union saying, well, we have a lot of our energy coming from Russia. How can we cut them off? Well, gee, they're all switching over to EVs. Tesla also produces a whole bunch of solar and battery packs that they can then provide to the European Union, and they can cut ties with Russia altogether and become less oil dependent. And that would be a huge move forward. We've already seen EV adoption growing faster than anticipated. Well, when you start looking at oil prices going up and gas prices going up, and an entire European Union that is trying to disassociate with Russia and their oil dependence, we can see the EV adoption skyrocket even higher over the course of this year. And so then we start to look down the road and people are like, well, Tesla, they say that they're going to have 50% year-over-year growth every year. How are they going to do it? Well, if EV adoption is growing faster than expected, then the demand for the current vehicles that Tesla has are going to continue. And then they are going to come out with a compact car. I know people are in question because Elon said they're not working on it, but they are. It's just not for right now. So it's probably going to be a late 2023 or 2024 edition, but it is coming. And so when that comes out, that will help. But their focus right now is FSD. Because if they can get FSD solved this year as planned, then when we roll out that compact car, they can have it in two different options. They can have it as one with a steering wheel, or they can have it produced without anything and have it being a purely self-driven vehicle. Over in China, they already have robo-taxis that are going around over there. So that's where they're going to be designing and producing this compact car. So if they have this up and running, regardless of what happens here in the US with regulations, they can have this operating over in China before it even comes over here to the US. And so if this Russia-Ukraine situation expedites the EV adoption across the world and the transition to renewable energy, then robotaxis can potentially get adopted even sooner everywhere else as well. So this whole movement for Tesla is really going to speed up this S-curve. And if we start talking about competition and saying, well, all these other legacy automotive makers and startups are going to be competing with them, this is true. But don't forget, as the EV adoption takes over, it's not just, the EV market that we're talking about. We're talking about the entire automotive market, which is enormous. And legacy auto needs to lose a lot of that in order to gain in the EV ground. Ford is saying now that they will not be separating the two when they're talking about their financials, because when they talk about them, their EV side of their business is going to be just showing pure loss. And that's going to look terrible for Ford, so they're not going to do it. So when you're looking at this going forward, they're not profitable in EVs and they're not willing to show it. So when you're talking about competition, there's plenty of room for growth. And in the short term, other automotive makers coming out with quality vehicles is actually going to be great for Tesla, because that's going to instill better confidence in consumers when it comes to EV adoption. They're going to really see, oh, EVs are better than ICE vehicles. They are coming down in price, so it's going to be a better bang for my buck, so there's no point in buying an ICE vehicle. And since the entire automotive industry has been depleted of their inventory, when both companies, they're going to be producing both types of vehicles, and people are going to have their choice of, do I buy an electric vehicle or do I buy an ICE vehicle? And gas prices are looking at, $4 a gallon plus in many places. People are going to be like, well, I'll get myself an EV and I won't have to worry about the gas or gas prices. And so the silver lining mentality and nature that I have in myself looks at this Russia-Ukraine situation as a terrible situation right now for the people of Ukraine, for even soldiers on both sides. It stinks that one guy is trying to do this. But looking long term, looking at the silver lining, this could be the turning point that really pushes us towards renewable energy and changing the entire globe to more green, sustainable energy to in turn save the planet. So yes, it stinks that this is going on, but long term, it could be a really good thing for the planet. And now I think we could have gotten there without the war because we were already headed in that direction, but this is probably going to speed up that process and maybe get it done sooner than a lot of us had thought. Let me know in the comments below. Did you get any Tesla stock early in the morning yesterday and get yourself some great buys? And what do you think about how this whole Russia-Ukraine situation is going to affect renewable energy and the EV adoption going forward? Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. Thank you so much. Have a great one.